Amara Johnson's hands were shaking, not the small, polite kind of shaking you hide by clasping your fingers together. The kind where your whole body gets involved. The kind where your jaw locks, your knees soften, and the world tilts sideways like a ship taking on water. She stood in the middle of the Kingsley Community Center in Jackson, Mississippi, holding a crumpled printout in one hand and her 4-year-old daughter's hand in the other. Her eyes were locked on the man standing 12 feet away from her. The man she had trusted. The man she had let into her home. The man who had held her daughter like she was made of glass and told Amara things that made her believe, for the first time in years, that maybe, just maybe, someone real had walked into her life. His name was Derek Miles. Or at least that's what he told her. But the printout in her hand told a different story. A Forbes magazine cover. A $14 billion company. A face she almost didn't recognize because it was wearing a suit instead of a hoodie. And a name that hit her like a freight train. Darius Kingsley, CEO, Kingsley Medical Technologies. "You lied to me," Amara whispered. Her voice was barely audible, but in the silence of that community center it might as well have been a thunderclap. The man Derek, whoever he really was, opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Zara tugged her mother's hand. "Mama, who is that?" Amara didn't answer. She couldn't. Because the tears were already falling, and if she opened her mouth, the sound that came out would be something she couldn't take back now. How did we get here? How did a single mother from Jackson, Mississippi, end up holding the broken pieces of the biggest lie she'd ever been told? How did a man worth more money than she could count in 10 lifetimes end up standing in a community center, looking like his whole world was collapsing? Let me take you back. Let me tell you the whole story. Because the truth is, this story isn't just about deception. It's about what happens when two broken people collide, and neither of them is ready for what comes next. But before we get there, if you're watching this right now and you love stories about real love, strength, and second chances, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Tap that notification bell. Because once you hear what happens to Amara and Darius, you're going to want to be here for every single part of this journey. Trust me on this one now. Let's start from the beginning. The skyline of Manhattan was cold and perfect, the way it always was in November. Glass towers cutting into a gray sky. Streets buzzing with people who had somewhere important to be. And on the 87th floor of the Kingsley Medical Technologies building, behind a door that cost more than most people's annual salary, Darius Kingsley sat alone in his corner office and stared at nothing. His phone buzzed again. He didn't pick it up. The office was immaculate, dark walnut desk, floor-to-ceiling windows, a wall of framed magazine covers, Forbes, Bloomberg, Time. Every single one featured his face. Every single one told the same story: young, black, brilliant, rich asterisk, but none of them told the real story. The real story was in his wallet, not the black Amex inside it, the thing behind the Amex, the thing he touched when no one was watching. A hospital bracelet, thin, faded, the ink nearly rubbed off. It read, Kingsley Wanda, patient ID, 44,718, his mother's bracelet. He was 12 years old when she died. Heart failure. The kind that doesn't announce itself with a bang, it creeps in slowly, like a shadow sliding across a room. By the time anyone noticed, it was too late. Too late because they couldn't afford the medication. Too late because the hospital had a waiting list, and the waiting list had a system. And the system didn't care about a black woman in Jackson, Mississippi, who cleaned office buildings at night and hummed gospel songs while she ironed clothes. Wanda Kingsley died on a Tuesday. Darius remembered it was a Tuesday because his grandmother, Edna, had been in the middle of making collard greens when the hospital called. She dropped the pot. The greens scattered across the kitchen floor. And nobody cleaned them up for 3 days. That hospital bracelet was the only thing Darius Kingsley had left of his mother. Not her smile, though he remembered it. Not her voice, though he heard it in his dreams. Just this thin, faded band of plastic that reminded him every single day why he built what he built. Kingsley Medical Technologies wasn't just a company. It was a promise. A promise to 12-year-old Darius kneeling beside his mother's bed. A promise that no family would ever lose someone because they couldn't pay, and he'd kept that promise. The company's AI diagnostic systems were now in over 200 hospitals across the country. free clinics in 47 states. Children who would have died were alive because of the technology his team had built. Darius Kingsley had turned his pain into purpose, but purpose doesn't keep you warm at night. Purpose doesn't ask you how your day was. Purpose doesn't laugh at your stupid jokes or fall asleep on your shoulder during a movie. No, that was supposed to be Kiara's job. Kiara Mitchell, model, actress, influencer, beautiful enough to stop traffic on Fifth Avenue. She'd been Darius's girlfriend for 8 months. 8 months of galas and red carpets and carefully curated Instagram posts. 8 months of looking perfect together while feeling nothing together. Darius picked up his phone. The screen showed 17 missed calls from Kiara. And a link to a blog post on a gossip site called Urban Heat. Clicked it. The headline read, "Inside the private life of billionaire Darius Kingsley, his girlfriend spills everything." Article contained details about his apartment, his habits, his security codes, his travel schedule, quotes from Kiara about their private conversations. Intimate details that should have stayed between two people. Darius read the entire article without blinking. Then he set his phone down on the desk very carefully, like it was a grenade he'd just disarmed. His office door opened. Daniel Park walked in holding 2 cups of coffee and wearing the expression of a man who'd already read the article. "Before you say anything," Daniel started. The legal team on the phone. "Darius, find out what else she sold. Get a cease and desist. Get a, Darius." Darius stopped. Daniel set both coffees on the desk and sat down across from his best friend. Daniel Park had been Darius's roommate at Howard University. Korean-American kid from Los Angeles. Came from money but never acted like it. The kind of friend who tells you the truth even when the truth tastes like medicine. "Legal is already on it," Daniel said calmly. The leak was contained. Most of the details were fabricated. She got some stuff right, some stuff wrong. "We can manage this." "Can manage this," Darius repeated flatly. "We can. It's a PR issue, not a crisis." "Everything is a PR issue with you," Daniel leaned back. "And everything is a control issue with you. When's the last time you slept? When's the last time you ate something that wasn't from that fancy place downstairs? When's the last time you—" "I'm fine." "Not fine. You're a man sitting alone in a glass tower at 11 p.m. on a Friday holding a hospital bracelet like it's a lifeline. That's not fine, Darius. That's drowning in a suit." Darius looked at Daniel for a long time. The silence between them was comfortable, the kind that only forms after years of friendship, where words aren't required to fill every gap. "What if I just disappeared?" Darius said quietly. Daniel blinked. "What? Disappeared, like vanished? What if I just left your company, left New York, left your—" Daniel pointed at everything. "Your life, my life." Darius said the word like he was tasting it and finding it bland. "What life, Daniel? I have a company that runs itself. I have a girlfriend who sold my privacy for clicks. I have a penthouse that echoes when I walk through it. What exactly am I protecting?" Daniel studied him. "Where would you even go?" Darius looked out the window. The city glittered below like a circuit board, beautiful, impersonal, empty. "Home," he said. "Jackson. You haven't been back to Jackson in 7 years, I know. You want to go back to the place that reminds you of everything you lost." Darius turned from the window. His eyes were clear, more clear than Daniel had seen them in months. "I want to go back to the place where people knew me before all of this." He gestured at the office, the covers, the skyline. "Before the money, before the title, before I became a headline. I want to know if anyone could see me. Not Kingsley Medical, not Forbes 30 under 30, just me, just Darius." Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he asked the only question that mattered. "And if they can't, then at least I'll know." Daniel sighed, picked up one of the coffees, took a long sip, set it down. "You know this is insane, right? Completely insane. You know I'm going to help you do it." Darius almost smiled. "Almost. I was counting on it." 3 days later, Darius Kingsley ceased to exist. Daniel handled everything. He created a background for Derek Miles, former IT worker laid off, relocating to Jackson to be near family. Modest history, modest credit score, modest everything. Daniel set up a P.O. box, transferred $500 in cash to a prepaid debit card, and packed Darius one bag. "One. Kidding me," Darius said, staring at the single duffel bag on his bed. "You wanted to disappear. One bag, 2 pairs of jeans, 3 shirts, a hoodie, sneakers, that's it. What about your suit stay, your watch stays, your phone stays. Daniel held up a burner phone. This is your phone now. It makes calls, it sends texts. It doesn't have Wi-Fi, it doesn't have your face on it, and it doesn't connect to the $14 billion empire you're abandoning. You're welcome. Darius took the phone, turned it over in his hands. It was light, almost weightless, like his whole identity could fit in his palm and still leave room for someone else's. One more thing, Daniel said. He pulled out a wallet cheap worn from a gas station. Inside, the prepaid card, a fake ID for Derek Miles, and $47 in small bills. You're going to need to learn how to live on this. Can you do that? Darius looked at the wallet. $47. His monthly wine subscription cost more than that. Yeah, he said, I can do that. Darius? Yeah. Daniel grabbed his shoulder, held it firmly. Come back alive, brother. I mean that literally. Jackson, Mississippi hit different. The air was thick and warm even in November. It smelled like magnolia and engine oil and something cooking in someone's kitchen that made Darius's stomach growl for the first time in days. The streets were narrower than he remembered. The buildings were smaller. The trees were bigger. He took a bus from the airport, a city bus, not a car service, not a private shuttle, and watched Jackson roll past the window like a home movie he hadn't seen in years. The old barbershop on Forest Street. The church where his grandmother used to drag him every Sunday. The corner store where he'd stolen a candy bar at 8 years old and his grandmother had marched him back to return it and apologize. He got off the bus on Lynch Street, walked 6 blocks, turned the corner, and there it was, the Kingsley Community Center. It was smaller than he remembered. A 1-story brick building with a hand-painted sign over the door. Kingsley Community Center, founded by Edna Kingsley, 1987. The paint was chipping. The roof needed work, but the lights were on, and through the windows Darius could see movement, people inside, laughter, music. He stood outside for a full minute, just stood there, breathing, remembering his grandmother Edna had spent 30 years of her life in this building. She ran after-school programs. She taught kids to read. She organized food drives and coat collections and holiday meals for families who had nothing. She didn't do it for fame or recognition. She did it because Edna Kingsley believed that a community was only as strong as the people who showed up for each other. She died 3 years ago, peacefully, in her sleep. Darius had been in Tokyo at the time, a business meeting. He got the call at 2 a.m. Tokyo time. He flew back to New York for the funeral. He flew back to Tokyo the next day. He still hadn't forgiven himself for that. Darius pulled the hoodie tighter around his shoulders, pushed open the door, and stepped inside. The community center was warm. Literally warm. The old heating system was working overtime, but also figuratively warm. The walls were covered in children's artwork. A Christmas tree, 3 weeks early, stood in the corner, decorated with handmade ornaments. A group of kids were playing cards at a folding table. A woman was cooking something in the kitchen area that smelled like heaven had a stove. And behind the front desk, reading a newspaper and sipping from a chipped mug, sat a man Darius hadn't seen in 7 years, Pastor Raymond. The old man looked up. His eyes, dark, deep, knowing, settled on Darius with the precision of a hawk spotting a rabbit. He studied the hoodie, the duffel bag, the nervous energy radiating off Darius like heat off asphalt. Pastor Raymond folded his newspaper, slowly. Took a sip of his coffee, set the mug down. Well, he said, his voice low and warm as a fireplace. Look what the cat dragged in. Darius swallowed. Hey, Pastor Raymond. It's been 7 years, son, 7. The old man stood up. He was tall, taller than Darius remembered, with silver hair and the kind of face that held every emotion without ever looking tired. Last time I saw you, you were on a screen, some news program, talking about your company. You're billions, you're this and you're that. He paused. Now you're standing in my community center in a hoodie that looks like it's been through a war. What am I supposed to make of that? I'm here to volunteer, Darius said. Pastor Raymond looked at him, really looked. The kind of looking that makes you feel like every layer is being peeled back, every secret read, every lie tasted. Raymond said. Is that right? That's right. Your name? Derek. Derek Miles. A flicker of something passed across Raymond's face. Amusement, recognition, both. Derek Miles, Raymond repeated like he was testing the words. Welcome to Kingsley Community Center, Derek Miles. Kitchen's through that door, mops in the closet. If you're really here to volunteer, the work will find you. It always does. Work found him fast. Within the first week, Darius had fixed 3 leaky faucets, organized the supply closet, repainted the front entrance, and repaired a broken bookshelf that had been leaning against the wall since his grandmother was alive. Physical work. Real work. The kind that made his hands ache and his back scream and his mind go quiet for the first time in years. He liked it. More than liked it. He needed it. Pastor Raymond watched him work without saying much. The old man had a way of observing from a distance, sitting in his usual spot, reading his newspaper, sipping his coffee, while knowing everything that happened in his building. Darius felt those eyes on him constantly, but Raymond never called him out, never said, "I know who you are." Never questioned the story. It was like a game they were both playing, and neither one was ready to make the first move. Then came the Tuesday that changed everything. The door to the community center banged open at 3:15 p.m. In walked a woman carrying a backpack in one hand and a 4-year-old child in the other. The child was laughing. The woman was not. "I need to drop Zara off for the after-school program," the woman said to Pastor Raymond, slightly out of breath. "I know I'm late. I had a shift at the clinic and the bus broke down and Marcus called and—" "Amara," Raymond said gently. "Breathe." Woman Amara stopped, took a breath, looked up, and Darius saw her face for the first time. She was beautiful, not in the way magazines define beauty. Beautiful in the way a storm is beautiful, powerful, unavoidable, not asking for permission. Dark brown skin, natural hair pulled into a puff, eyes that held a whole universe of exhaustion and determination and something else, something fierce and unbreakable. She wore scrubs, faded blue, paint stains on the scrubs, a stethoscope around her neck like a warrior wearing armor. "Derek," Pastor Raymond said, nodding toward Darius. "This is Amara Johnson. She helps out here when she's not saving lives at the clinic. Amara, this is Derek Miles. He's volunteering with us." Amara looked at Darius. Her eyes swept over him, the hoodie, the jeans, the slightly confused expression with the efficiency of someone who didn't waste time on things that didn't matter. "The one who fixed the bookshelf?" she asked. "Guilty. It's been broken for 2 years. Raymond's been saying he'd fix it since before Zara could walk." She glanced at the old man. "Took a stranger to do it." Raymond just sipped his coffee and smiled. Amara turned to leave. Then she stopped, looked back at Darius. "We don't need another charity case here," she said. Her voice wasn't harsh. It was honest. "There's a difference. We need people who show up, not for a day, not for a week, but consistently. You showing up, Derek?" "Showing up," Darius said. She held his gaze for a beat longer than necessary. Then she nodded, once, and walked toward the door, but she didn't get far, because a small voice behind her said, "Mama, wait." Zara, the 4-year-old, had wriggled free from her mother's grip and was standing directly in front of Darius, looking up at him with enormous brown eyes. She studied his face with the seriousness of a scientist examining a new specimen. "You look sad," Zara said. Darius blinked. "I what?" "Your face looks sad. Do you want a crayon?" Amara turned around. "Zara, come on, baby, we gotta." "Mama, he looks really sad. I'm gonna give him a crayon." Zara dug into her backpack, pulled out a purple crayon and held it up to Darius. "Here, purple's the best color. It makes people happy." Darius looked at the crayon, then at the little girl, then at Amara, who was watching this exchange with an expression he couldn't quite read. He took the crayon. "Thank you," he said. And he meant it. Not about the crayon, about the fact that a 4-year-old girl had looked at a grown man hiding behind a fake name and a hoodie and seen straight to the truth. He was sad. He had been sad for a very long time. Amara collected Zara, gave Darius one more look, wary, curious, not trusting, and left. That night Darius sat on the steps outside the community center, turning the purple crayon over in his fingers. The streetlights hummed. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. Jackson was quiet in a way Manhattan never was, quiet like a held breath. He thought about Amara's face. The way she said, "Are you showing up, Derek?" Like it was the only question that mattered. The way her eyes were tired but alive. The way she held herself like she was ready for anything, expecting nothing good. She reminded him of someone, his mother. The thought hit him so hard he had to close his eyes and breathe. Amara Johnson was a single mother, fighting for her brother's life, raising a child on her own, working at a free clinic for people who had no other options. She was the kind of person Darius's company was built to help, and she had no idea who he was, not yet. And for the first time in a long time, Darius didn't want her to. He wanted her to see Derek, the volunteer, the guy with the hoodie and the sad face and a purple crayon. He wanted to earn something that had never been given to him, not because of his money, not because of his title, but because he showed up. He tucked the crayon into his pocket and whispered to the empty street, "Here, Mama, I'm showing up." Over the next 2 weeks, Darius showed up, every single day. He arrived before the doors opened and stayed after they closed. He helped kids with homework. He organized food donations. He fixed the broken light in the parking lot. He played basketball with teenagers who had never had a positive male role model and didn't know what one looked like until Derek showed up and just stayed. And Amara watched. She watched from a distance at first, through the windows of the community center while she cooked in the kitchen, from across the room while she sorted medical supplies for the free clinic, from the doorway while Zara sat on Darius's lap, drawing pictures and laughing. She watched because she didn't trust. Trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. She'd been burned before by Devin, who left when she was pregnant, by the system, which told her to apply for help and then lost her paperwork, by life which kept taking and taking and taking until Amara learned to hold on so tight that nothing could be pried loose. But Derek was doing something to her armor, small things, things that didn't seem like much. He remembered Zara's favorite color, purple. He brought Zara a purple hairband one day, nothing expensive, just a bow. Zara wore it for a week straight. He noticed that Amara held her lower back when she stood too long. He found an old cushion in the supply closet and put it on her chair without a word. She sat down, felt the cushion, and looked around the room. He was already gone. She kept the cushion. He left a bottle of cold water on her desk every afternoon. No note, no name, just water, cold, there, every day. Like a promise that someone noticed she was thirsty. Amara noticed. She didn't say anything, but she didn't move the water either. And then one night Pastor Raymond pulled Darius aside. It was late. Most people had gone home. The community center was quiet except for the hum of the old heating system and the distant sound of traffic on Lynch Street. Raymond sat down across from Darius, folded his hands, looked at him with those ancient, knowing eyes. "You know, your grandmother used to say something," Raymond said. She said, "The thing about seeds is you plant them in the dark. You don't see the roots, you don't see the growth, but you trust that something is happening underneath. Because that's what faith is, trusting the unseen." Darius said nothing. He knew where this was going. "Amara's been through a lot, Derek," Raymond continued. "More than most people twice her age. She lost her mama young, raised her brother by herself. That boy, Marcus, he's sick, real sick, heart condition. And Amara is trying to hold everything together with nothing but duct tape and stubbornness." "She's strong," Darius said quietly. "She's strong because she has to be. There's a difference between strong and having a choice." Raymond paused. "She lets you in slowly, Derek. Don't rush it and don't waste it." "I won't." Raymond studied him for another long moment. Then he stood up, patted Darius on the shoulder, and walked toward the back office. At the door he stopped, didn't turn around. "And son, whatever you're running from, whatever you came here to find, I hope you find it. Your grandmother would have wanted that for you." He closed the door. Darius sat alone in the empty community center. The purple crayon was in his pocket. The hospital bracelet was in his wallet. And his heart, the heart he'd spent 10 years armoring, was doing something terrifying. It was opening. The call came at 2:17 a.m. Darius was asleep on the couch in the small room behind the community center that Pastor Raymond had let him use. His phone, the burner phone, lit up with Amara's name. He hadn't expected her to have his number. She'd gotten it from the volunteer contact list. He answered on the first ring. Amara, her voice was controlled, too controlled. The kind of control that meant someone was about to fall apart. "It's Marcus." He collapsed. "They're taking him to UMC. He's barely breathing." Darius was already standing, already reaching for his keys. "I'm coming." "You don't have to." "I'm coming, Amara. I'll be there in 10 minutes. He was there in 7. When he walked into the emergency department at the University of Mississippi Medical Center, Amara was sitting in a plastic chair in the waiting room, still in her pajamas with Zara asleep on her lap. Her face was blank. Not calm, not peaceful. Blank. The face of someone who has stared into the abyss so many times that the abyss doesn't even scare them anymore. Darius sat down beside her. He didn't say anything. He didn't try to fix it. He just sat there. After a long time, Amara spoke. Her voice was raw. They said he needs emergency surgery, a valve replacement, something about his mitral valve not closing properly. She paused. $200,000, Derek, that's what they said it costs. Darius's chest tightened. I don't have $200,000, she continued. I don't have $200 in my savings account. I painted every painting I could paint. I picked up every extra shift. I applied for every grant. I did everything I was supposed to do, and it's still not enough. Her voice cracked, just barely, just enough. My brother is 22 years old, he's 22, and he's dying, and I can't stop it. Zara stirred in her sleep. Amara stroked her hair absently, her eyes fixed on the emergency room doors. Darius wanted to tell her right there, in that plastic chair, under those fluorescent lights. He wanted to say, I can fix this. One phone call. I can have the best surgeon in the country on a plane to Jackson by morning. I can pay for this with the interest from one day's earnings. I can make this go away, but he didn't, because Derek Miles couldn't do that. Derek Miles was a volunteer, a guy in a hoodie, a man with $47 in his wallet and a fake name. And something inside Darius, something deep and stubborn and terrified, refused to let this be over. Refused to let Amara know that the man sitting beside her could erase her pain with a signature, because if she knew, it wouldn't be real. None of it would be real. He chose instead to reach over and take her hand. She flinched. Then she didn't pull away. I'm right here, Darius said. Take your time. Amara looked at him. In the harsh light of the hospital waiting room, with her brother fighting for his life and her daughter sleeping in her lap, she looked at this strange, sad man who showed up at her community center and fixed bookshelves and left water on her desk and remembered her daughter's favorite color. And she didn't say thank you, she said something better. Leave. Words. 2 words that hit Darius Kingsley harder than anything he'd heard in his entire life. Not help me. Not fix this. Just don't leave. Like she already knew. On some level, buried deep beneath the armor and the distrust and the years of doing everything alone, she already knew that the most powerful thing anyone could offer wasn't money, it was presence. Not going anywhere, Darius said, and he meant it. But here's the thing about promises made at 2 a.m. in hospital waiting rooms. The universe has a way of testing them. Hard. Because Darius Kingsley didn't know it yet, but in 48 hours, the lie he was living would come crashing down. The woman he was starting to love would discover exactly who he was. And the choice between saving Marcus and saving himself would force Darius to confront the one person he'd been running from his entire life, himself. If you're watching this right now and your heart is doing the thing, you know the thing, where it's tight in your chest and you need to know what happens next, I need you to do 2 things. First, hit that subscribe button. Right now. Second, drop a purple heart in the comments for Zara's purple crayon, for the small kindnesses that mean everything, for the moments when someone shows up and just stays. The surgery was scheduled for Friday morning. 6 words. That's all the doctor said. But those 6 words rearranged everything inside Amara Johnson's chest like furniture in a burning room. Friday morning. That gave her exactly 51 hours to come up with $200,000 she didn't have, for a surgery her brother couldn't survive without. Amara sat in the hospital hallway at 3:47 a.m., Zara asleep against her shoulder, her phone screen glowing with her bank account balance. $1,347.32. That was it. Everything she had in the world. 3 years of double shifts, missed birthdays, canceled plans, and paint-stained fingers, all of it, reduced to a number that wouldn't even cover the first hour of operating room time. She closed the app. Pressed her phone against her forehead. Breathed across the hallway. Darius was on his feet, not packing, standing still, like a soldier waiting for orders. His face was unreadable, but his jaw was tight. The kind of tight that meant something was happening behind those dark eyes, something she couldn't see, something she didn't know how to ask about. "You should go home," Amara said without looking at him. "Take Zara to my neighbor's place. I'll stay here with Marcus." "I'm not leaving," Darius said. "Derek," I said, "I'm not leaving, Amara." She finally looked at him. Under the fluorescent hospital lights, his face looked older, harder, like the weight of something invisible was pressing down on his shoulders. She wanted to ask what he was thinking. She wanted to reach out and touch his arm. She wanted 100 things she wouldn't allow herself to want because wanting things was how you got broken. Instead, she said, "Thank you for being here." It cost her something to say those words. He could tell. He nodded and he stayed. By the time the sun came up, Darius had a plan. He stepped outside the hospital at 6 a.m., pulled out his burner phone, and called the only person who could help him without asking questions. Daniel picked up on the second ring. "It's 6 a.m. on the East Coast, Darius. This better be. I need you to set something up." Quietly. A pause, then Daniel's voice shifted. "All business. Talk to me." Darius told him everything. Marcus, the heart condition, the surgery. The cost, the hospital, all of it. Daniel listened without interrupting, something he only did when he understood the stakes were real. When Darius finished, Daniel said, "You want me to create a medical grant, funnel it through the foundation, make it look like an independent charity application. The Kingsley Medical Foundation logo will be on the paperwork. Use a shell, create a subsidiary, call it something else, anything else. I don't want her to trace it back to me. You understand that hospitals have administrative processes, right? This isn't a phone call. There's paperwork. There are approvals. There's a board that—" "Daniel," Darius's voice was flat, quiet, the kind of quiet that meant he was barely holding it together. "This woman's brother is going to die on Friday if someone doesn't do something. I have the power to stop that, right now, with one decision. So I need you to move heaven and earth and whatever else is in your way and make this happen. Can you do that?" Daniel was silent for 3 seconds. That was a long time for Daniel Park. "I'll have it done by noon," he said. "But Darius, yeah, if she finds out and this could blow up in your face." "I know. If it blows up, you might lose her." Darius looked through the hospital window. Inside, Amara was adjusting Zara's blanket, gentle, careful, the way you handle something precious when you're afraid it might break. "I already lost everything once," Darius said. "I'm not watching it happen again." He hung up. By 11:45 a.m., Daniel had worked a miracle. A medical grant application appeared in the system at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. It was clean, legitimate. The funding source was listed as the Hartbridge Medical Assistance Fund, a subsidiary of the Kingsley Medical Foundation that Daniel had created specifically for cases like this. No direct connection to Darius's name. No red flags. Just $200,000 sitting in a hospital account, waiting to be used. Daniel called Darius back at noon. "It's done. The hospital has been notified. They can proceed with Marcus's surgery on Friday as planned. The grant covers everything: surgeon, facility, post-op care, the works. Make sure there's no paper trail that leads to—" "There's one problem." Darius's stomach dropped. "What problem?" "The hospital administrator, a woman named Diane Watkins, she processed the paperwork through the corporate liaison office. She was in a rush. She used the wrong letterhead." "Define wrong." "Sent Amara the grant confirmation on Kingsley Medical Foundation stationery. Full logo, full header, the whole thing." Darius closed his eyes. "She sent it to Amara, fax machine. Old school, no digital trail for me to intercept. It's done, Darius." Silence. "Sorry," Daniel said. "I tried to catch it, but the woman sent it before my contact at the hospital could flag it." Darius rubbed his face. His hands were shaking, not from cold, from the realization that the one thing he was trying to hide, the one thread connecting Derek Miles to Darius Kingsley, was now sitting in Amara's hands. "Amara know about the connection?" Daniel asked carefully. "Yet, but if she sees that logo, she'll Google it. She'll see my face on Forbes." Another silence, longer this time. "What do you want to do?" Daniel asked. Darius stood in the hospital parking lot staring at the Mississippi sky. Blue, wide, indifferent to the disaster unfolding beneath it. "I want to tell her the truth," he said. "Then tell her." "Can't, not yet, not like this. If she knows I paid for Marcus's surgery, if she connects Derek to Kingsley Medical, she'll think the whole thing was staged. The community center, the volunteering, Zara, all of it. She'll think I bought my way into her life. You? No, I fell into her life and now I can't get out, Daniel exhaled slowly. Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you and you're not going to like it. You need to buy time. Don't let her see that letter before Friday. If the surgery happens and Marcus recovers, you'll have a window to explain. A small one, but a window. If she finds out before the surgery, if she thinks this is all a setup, she might refuse the grant. And then Marcus doesn't get operated on. I hear you. Because I need you to hear me, Darius. You are playing with someone's life, not just Marcus's, Amara's, Zara's. You need to think about what happens if this goes wrong, not if when. Because secrets like this don't stay buried, they never do. I know, Daniel. Then act like it. Amara saw the letter at 2:30 p.m. that same day. She was at the hospital, filling out forms for Marcus's preoperative intake. When a nurse handed her a fax confirmation from the Heartbridge Medical Assistance Fund. The nurse said, Ms. Johnson, I don't know how this happened, but someone approved a full grant for your brother's surgery. Everything is covered. Amara stared at the paper. Her hands trembled, her vision blurred. For a full 10 seconds, she didn't move. She just stood there holding the letter, reading it over and over, waiting for someone to snatch it away and tell her it was a mistake. No one did. Then she looked down at the letterhead. Kingsley Medical Technologies, a foundation division below the header in small print. Funded through the Kingsley Medical Foundation, New York, NY. She read the name again. Kingsley. The word snagged in her brain like a fishhook. She pulled out her phone, typed Kingsley Medical Foundation into the search bar. Hit enter. The results loaded instantly. A sleek website. A mission statement about making healthcare accessible. And there, right at the top of the page, a photo of a man. Young, sharp jaw, dark eyes. The kind of face you don't forget because it looks like it was designed by someone who understood that beauty and danger often wear the same clothes. Darius Kingsley, founder and CEO. Amara stared at the photo. Then she looked up, across the hospital waiting room. Derek Miles was sitting in a plastic chair, reading a magazine. A hoodie, jeans, sneakers. Same man who fixed bookshelves and left water on her desk and held her daughter like she was made of glass. She looked back at the phone. She looked at him. Her stomach turned to ice. The jawline was different. The clothes were different. The posture was different. But the eyes, those dark, knowing, sad eyes, were the same. Exactly the same. Amara folded the letter, very slowly, very carefully. She tucked it into her bag. She picked up her phone. She walked out of the hospital without saying a word to anyone. She needed to think. She didn't confront him that night. She didn't confront him the next morning either. Instead, Amara did what she always did when the world was falling apart. She went to work. She showed up at the Magnolia Free Clinic at 7 a.m., put on her scrubs, checked her patients, drew blood, changed IVs, and smiled at people who needed her to smile. But inside, a storm was building. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the Forbes cover. She saw the Kingsley Medical logo. She saw Derek's face and wondered if any of it was real. The volunteering, the purple crayon, the water bottles, the way he looked at Zara, the way his voice softened when he said, "I'm right here." Was any of it real, or was she just another project for a bored billionaire? She called Pastor Raymond during her lunch break. "Raymond," she said. "That volunteer, Derek Miles, is that his real name?" A long pause on the other end. Then Raymond's voice, measured and careful. "What makes you ask that, child? Just answer me." Another pause. "Come by the center this evening. I'll make coffee. We'll talk." "Don't protect him, Raymond. Don't you dare protect him." "I protect nobody, Amara. I let the truth do what it does." He paused. "Come at 6. Bring your questions. Leave Zara at home if you can. This conversation ain't for little ears." At 6 p.m., Amara walked into the Kingsley Community Center. Darius was fixing a hinge on the back door, his back to the front entrance. He didn't see her come in. Pastor Raymond was behind the front desk, 2 mugs of coffee already poured. He nodded at Amara, gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit," he said. She sat. "Where is he?" "Out back, fixing things. That's what he does when he can't sit still with his own thoughts." Raymond pushed a mug toward her. "I've known that boy since he was 7 years old." Amara sat right there in that after-school program doing his homework on that table over there. "His grandmother Edna used to tell me, 'Raymond, that boy is going to change the world someday.' And I'd say, 'Edna, that boy can't even tie his shoes.' And she'd laugh. Lord, that woman could laugh." Amara wrapped her hands around the mug. "He's not Derek Miles, is he?" Raymond took a slow sip of his coffee, set the mug down, folded his hands. "No," he said quietly. "He's not." Amara's jaw tightened. "Then who?" "His name is Darius Kingsley. Edna's grandson, the one who built that medical company, the one whose face is on all the magazines." Raymond paused. "He showed up here 3 weeks ago with a duffel bag and a fake name and asked to volunteer. I knew who he was the second he walked through that door, been knowing." "You knew?" "I knew." "You didn't tell me?" Raymond looked at her steadily. "Would you have let him in if I had?" Amara opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. "I didn't tell you because it wasn't my story to tell," Raymond continued. "It was his, and he wasn't ready. People come to the truth on their own time, Amara. You can't drag them there. Believe me, I've tried." "I don't care about his reasons, Raymond. I care about the lie." Her voice was rising. She lowered it. "He sat in that hospital hallway with me. He held Zara. He brought her a purple bow. He left water on my desk. He made me think." Her voice broke. She caught it. Held it together. "He made me think someone actually cared, not about my situation, not about what I could give him, but about me, about who I am. He does care about you. I've watched him, Amara. I've watched him with Zara. I've watched him with the kids here. That boy ain't acting. I've seen enough fake in my 64 years to know the difference between a performance and a person. Then why the lie? Why the fake name? Why the hoodie and the broke act? What was the point?" Raymond was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Because the money took everything from him, child, his mother, his childhood, his ability to trust that anyone could see past the dollar signs to the human being underneath. He didn't come here to trick you, Amara. He came here to find out if he was still real." Amara stared at him. Her eyes were glassy. She blinked hard. "I don't care how rich he is," she said. "I don't care how big his company is. What I care about is this: could he have helped Marcus this whole time? Could he have paid for that surgery with one phone call? While I was selling paintings and working doubles and crying in bathroom stalls, he could have just fixed it." "Yes," Raymond said simply. "He could have. He didn't. He watched me suffer. He watched me break, and he did nothing." "Did something, Amara. He just did it quietly." "What does that mean?" Raymond reached under the desk and pulled out a folder. He placed it in front of her. "Open it." Amara opened the folder. Inside was a printout from the Kingsley Medical Foundation. It showed the grant approval for Marcus's surgery. Full coverage. No strings. The application date was 2 days ago. The same morning Amara had been sitting in the hospital, staring at her bank account, wondering how to bury her brother before he turned 23. Below the grant approval, a handwritten note in neat block letters. She shouldn't have to carry this alone. DK. Amara's hands trembled. She set the folder down, pressed her palms flat on the desk. Breathed. "He did it quietly," Raymond repeated. "He didn't want credit. He didn't want gratitude. He wanted his name nowhere near it. He just wanted Marcus to live." Amara sat in silence for a long time. The clock on the wall ticked. The heating system hummed. Outside, the streetlights flickered on, painting the sidewalk in pale orange. "I need to talk to him," she finally said. "I know you do. Tonight. When I'm ready." Raymond nodded. He picked up his mug, took a long sip, and said the quietest thing he'd said all evening. "Ready ain't something you wait for, child. It's something you choose." Amara chose. The next morning, Thursday, 1 day before Marcus's surgery, she found Darius at the community center arranging chairs for the after-school program. He was whistling, something soft and unfamiliar. He didn't notice her until she was standing 3 feet away. "Amara," he smiled, that smile, the one that made her chest hurt. "Hey, how's Marcus?" "He's stable. Surgery's tomorrow." "That's good. That's really good." He stacked another chair. "I was thinking if you need someone to drive you to the hospital, I can." "I know who you are." Darius froze, mid-stack, the chair in his hands tilted. He set it down slowly, turned to face her. He said. Amara held up the Kingsley Medical Foundation printout. Heartbridge Medical Assistance Fund, Kingsley Medical Technologies, New York, NY. She set it on the table between them. "And then there's this." She held up her phone, the Forbes cover. "Tell me this isn't you, Derek. Tell me this man on this magazine isn't standing in front of me right now." Silence that followed was the loudest thing Amara had ever heard. Darius looked at the printout, then at the phone, then at her. "My name is Darius Kingsley," he said. His voice was steady, but his hands weren't. I'm the CEO of Kingsley Medical Technologies. I grew up in Jackson. My grandmother built this center. I came back here 3 weeks ago because he started again. Because I was running from my life, from the money, from the isolation, from everything. I created Derek Miles because I wanted to know if anyone could see me without all of that attached. The surgery, Marcus. I paid for it. Through my foundation. How long have you had the money to do that? Since the day I met you. The words hit Amara like a slap. She didn't flinch, she didn't cry, she went still. And still with Amara was always more dangerous than screaming. So you watched me, she said. You watched me go through all of that. You sat in that hospital hallway and you held my hand while I cried. And the whole time you had the answer in your back pocket. I couldn't tell you. If I had told you who I was, if you had told me who you were, I wouldn't have liked you, I wouldn't have been impressed enough. What did you think I was, Darius? Some project, some social experiment? Let me go see if a regular woman can love a regular man. Was that it? No, then what was it? Her voice broke, not from anger, from something worse. From the sound of hope dying in real time, Darius stepped forward. She stepped back. Don't, she said. Don't come near me right now. He stopped. His eyes were wet. He blinked. The tears fell anyway. He didn't wipe them. It was because of you, he said. All of it. It was because of you, Amara. I didn't come here to play a game. I came here because I was drowning. I was worth $14 billion and I had nothing. Nobody who knew me. Nobody who saw me. And then you walked into this building and you looked at me like I was just a man, just a person. You told me we needed volunteers who showed up. You made me earn it. You made me feel like I was alive for the first time in 10 years. That doesn't fix this. I know you lied to me, Darius, every single day, every conversation, every moment with Zara, every drop of water on my desk, she pressed her hand over her mouth, held it there, breath through her fingers, then she dropped her hand. Did you know what I was going through with Marcus when you first got here? No, I found out after. I saw your face in the hospital. I saw you break, and I decided right then I would rather lose everything than watch that woman lose her brother. Amara stared at him. Her face was unreadable, a mask, a wall, the same wall she'd built when Devin left. The same wall she built every time life tried to take something else from her. The surgery is tomorrow, she said. I'm not refusing it. My brother is going to live. I don't care who paid for it. That's not about you. That's about Marcus. You and me? She shook her head. I don't know what you and me is. I don't know if there is a you and me. Because right now all I can see is a man who had all the power in this situation and chose to keep me in the dark. I was afraid. We're all afraid, Darius. That doesn't give you the right to lie. She picked up the printout, folded it, tucked it into her bag. Then she walked to the door, stopped, didn't turn around. I need time, however long you need. Darius? Yeah. The water bottles, the purple bow, the cushion on my chair. Her voice softened. Barely. Was any of that real? Every single drop, he said. She stood in the doorway for 3 more seconds. Then she walked out into the Mississippi evening, and the door closed behind her, and Darius Kingsley stood alone in the community center his grandmother built, holding a purple crayon he didn't remember pulling from his pocket, and wondering if he had just lost the only person who had ever made him feel like enough. He called Daniel that night. I told her everything, Darius said. She needs time. That bad, she said. She needs time, Daniel. That's not bad, that's just. Not done yet. Daniel was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. The right thing would have been telling her from the beginning. Yeah, but you didn't, so now you deal with what is, not what should have been. Daniel paused. And Darius, there's something else. Tori's been asking questions. She noticed you've been off-grid. She's been pulling financial records. If she finds the Heartbridge grant, let her find it. Darius, I said, let her find it. I'm done hiding. Another pause. You sound different. Different how? Like you actually want to be caught. Friday morning. Surgery day. Darius was at the hospital at 5 a.m. He didn't go inside. He sat in the parking lot in a borrowed truck from one of the community center volunteers and watched the sunrise paint the UMC building in shades of gold and pink. Amara arrived at 6 a.m. She walked past his truck without looking at it. But when she reached the entrance, she stopped, turned, looked back at the truck. Their eyes met through the windshield. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. But she nodded. Once. Small. Almost imperceptible. Then she went inside. Darius pressed his forehead against the steering wheel and whispered a prayer he hadn't prayed in 15 years. The surgery lasted 7 hours. 7 hours of Darius sitting in the parking lot. 7 hours of Amara sitting in the surgical waiting room. 7 hours of Zara drawing pictures with purple crayons in the children's play area, asking every 30 minutes, "Is Uncle Marcus done yet?" At 3:47 p.m. the surgeon walked out. Young woman, tired eyes, clean hands. Ms. Johnson, Amara stood, so fast her chair fell over. Zara caught it, surprisingly strong for a 4-year-old. "Your brother made it through surgery successfully. The valve replacement was clean. Recovery will take time, but Marcus is going to be fine." Amara's legs gave out. She caught herself on the edge of a table. Then she sank into the chair, and she cried, not quietly, not politely. She cried the way rivers flood, suddenly, completely, with a force that reshapes the landscape around it. Zara climbed into her lap and held her face with both hands. "It's okay, Mama. Uncle Marcus is okay." Amara laughed through her tears. "Yeah, baby, Uncle Marcus is okay." She looked up. Through the waiting room window she could see the parking lot, the borrowed truck. The man sitting inside it, head bowed, hands clasped, not checking his phone, not making calls, not running an empire, just sitting there. Waiting, praying for her. Amara wiped her eyes, stood up, straightened her scrubs. She walked out of the hospital, crossed the parking lot, opened the truck door. Darius looked up. His eyes were red. He'd been crying too. "Marcus is fine," she said. He exhaled, like he'd been holding his breath for 7 hours. "Get out of the truck," Amara said. "Come inside, see him." "You sure?" "No, I'm not sure about anything right now, but I know Zara wants you there. And I know Marcus deserves to meet the man who saved his life, even if that man is a liar." Darius almost smiled, almost. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." "Push it." He got out of the truck. They walked into the hospital together, not holding hands, not close, but together. And sometimes that's enough to start. But the story wasn't over. Because while Amara and Darius were in that hospital room, a black SUV was pulling into Jackson, Mississippi, carrying a woman with a designer bag and a folder full of evidence. Victoria Kingsley had arrived, and she had no intention of leaving without getting exactly what she came for. If you're watching this right now and your heart is pounding, I need you to take a breath with me. Because what happens in next will change how you think about love, forgiveness, and what it really means to show up. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on that notification bell. Drop a heart in the comments for Marcus and his recovery. Victoria Kingsley had never been to Jackson, Mississippi in her life. She sat in the back of a black SUV, watching the city roll past her tinted windows like a movie she'd never choose to watch. Small buildings, cracked sidewalks, storefronts with hand-painted signs. A city running on faith and fumes, far from the glass towers and marble lobbies she called home. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through the folder she'd been building for weeks. Bank transfers, shell companies. A $200,000 grant routed through a subsidiary called Heartbridge Medical Assistance Fund, a fund that existed on paper but had no office, no staff, and no history before Darius Kingsley decided to play hero in Mississippi. Tori knew everything. She knew about Derek Miles. She knew about the community center. She knew about the woman, Amara Johnson, and her daughter. She had photographs, financial records, a timeline that would make any journalist's hands shake with excitement. Victoria Kingsley had spent her entire career living in her cousin's shadow. She'd watched him build Kingsley Medical Technologies from a startup into a $14 billion empire. She'd helped build it. She'd run the PR department. She'd handled crises. She'd sacrificed holidays, relationships, and sleep for a company that put Darius's face on every cover and her name on none. And now, this man had abandoned everything. Left his company, his responsibilities, his board of directors, all to play broke in some small southern town. For a woman, Tori's jaw tightened. She wasn't here to destroy Darius. Not exactly. She was here to make him understand something he'd never been willing to see, that the empire he built required more than genius. It required presence. And you can't run a $14 billion company from a community center in Jackson, Mississippi, holding hands with a woman you met 3 weeks ago. At least, that's what she told herself. The truth, the part she hadn't examined yet, the part that lived beneath the ambition and the spreadsheet calculations, was simpler and uglier than strategy. She wanted the company, not because she was greedy, Because she was tired. Tired of being Darius's cousin. Tired of being the one who stayed late and got overlooked. Tired of building something magnificent and watching someone else's name go on the plaque. Tori had convinced herself that she deserved it, that she'd earned it, that the company would actually be better under her leadership. But standing on the pavement outside the Kingsley Community Center in Jackson, Mississippi, watching the chipped paint and the hand-lettered sign and the children laughing through the windows, Victoria Kingsley felt something she hadn't expected. Doubt. She pushed it away, straightened her blazer, walked toward the door. The community center was alive when she walked in, kids doing homework, an old man mopping the floor, Christmas music playing from a small speaker on the front desk. And there across the room was Darius Kingsley, not in a suit, not behind a mahogany desk. He was on his knees helping a little girl with curly hair tie her shoe. Tori stopped. She watched him for 5 seconds, the patience in his hands, the softness in his voice, the way the little girl laughed when he made a funny face. This wasn't a man playing a role. This was a man who had found something he didn't know he was missing. For a flickering moment, barely a heartbeat, Tori felt the doubt again. Stronger this time. Then she shoved it down and walked forward. Darius. He looked up. His face changed. Not fear exactly, something heavier. The expression of a man who'd been waiting for the other shoe to drop and had just heard it hit the floor. Tori. He stood up slowly. The little girl Zara looked at the strange woman with wide eyes. Darius placed his hand gently on Zara's shoulder. Hey Zara, can you go find your mama for me, sweetheart? I need to talk to someone real quick. Zara nodded and ran off. Tori watched her go. Something flickered across her face. Something almost human, then it was gone. We need to talk, Tori said. We do. Here. Then where? Outside. They walked out together. The November air was cool and sharp. The streetlights were beginning to glow. Tori stopped at the edge of the parking lot, turned to face him and crossed her arms. 3 weeks, Darius, 3 weeks without a single board update. No earnings call, no strategy meeting, no communication. Priya's been covering for you, but the board is asking questions. Investors are nervous. The stock dipped 4% last week. I'm aware. You're aware. Tori's voice was controlled, but her eyes were burning. You're aware that you abandoned a $14 billion company to play volunteer in your grandmother's community center. I didn't abandon anything. I delegated. There's a difference. There's a legal difference. And then there's a board of directors votes to remove you as CEO difference. She stepped closer. Darius, I found the Heartbridge grant. I traced it to your foundation. You paid $200,000 for a stranger's surgery using company-connected funds without board approval. That money came from my personal foundation, not the company. The shell company is registered under Kingsley Medical's corporate umbrella. That makes it a gray area at best and a breach of fiduciary duty at worst. If this goes public and I can make sure it does, your stock tanks, the board panics, and everything you built crumbles. Darius said nothing. He looked at her, really looked. The way he used to look at her at family dinners when they were kids, with curiosity, with warmth. What do you want, Tori? She hesitated. For the first time since she arrived, something shifted in her posture. A crack in the armor, just barely. Want you to come back. Resume your duties. Be the CEO. And I want to be named Chief Operating Officer. Full authority. Real power, not a title, actual control. You've always had real power. No, Darius, I've always had your power. There's a difference. Words hung in the air between them, heavy, honest. You think I don't value you, Darius said quietly. Think you've never had to think about it, because I've always been here, picking up the pieces, running your PR, cleaning up your absences, and you've never once stopped to ask what I need. What do you need, Tori? She looked away. The streetlights caught the edge of her jaw, the carefully maintained exterior, the designer blazer that cost more than most people's rent. And beneath all of it, beneath the ambition and the calculations and the leverage, Darius saw something he'd never noticed before. Loneliness. The same loneliness that had driven him to Jackson in the first place. Tori, he said softly, sit down with me, not as a business meeting, as family. We're past family, Darius. Never past family. She looked at him, her eyes glistened. She blinked it away, fast, practiced. The reflex of someone who'd learned long ago that tears were weapons your enemies could use. You have 72 hours, she said. Come back to New York, resume your position. Give me what I asked for, or I take the story public, all of it, the fake identity, the hidden grant, the woman, everything. She turned to walk away. Tori, she stopped. Who told you I was here? A pause. Daniel, Darius's chest tight. He said nothing. Tori got in the SUV. The door closed. The engine hummed. The car pulled away, disappearing into the Jackson night like a shadow swallowing itself. Darius called Daniel 4 minutes later. Daniel answered on the first ring. His voice was hollow. Know why you're calling. You told Tori where I was. Silence. Daniel, did you tell Tori where I was? I didn't mean for. Daniel's voice cracked. She came to my apartment. She showed up at 11 p.m. with wine and that smile she does. She asked where you were. I thought she was just worried about you. I thought she cared. I told her Jackson. I told her about the community center. And then she left, just got up and left, mid-sentence, like I was a door she'd walked through. Darius closed his eyes. He could picture it. Daniel, loyal, brilliant, unshakable Daniel, sitting in his apartment, realizing he'd been used by the one person he'd let past his defenses. You love her, Darius said. It wasn't a question. I thought I did. I think I did. I don't know what I think anymore. Daniel exhaled. Darius, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I know you didn't. She's going to use it against you, the grant, the whole thing. I know. What are you going to do? Darius looked at the community center. Through the window, he could see Amara helping kids with their homework. Zara was sitting at a table drawing something with purple crayons. Pastor Raymond was reading his newspaper, one eye on the children, one eye on the world. I'm going to do the thing I should have done from the beginning, Darius said. I'm going to tell the truth, all of it, to everyone. No more hiding, no more fake names, no more shadows. Amara, to everyone. If she walks away, then she walks away. But at least she'll walk away knowing who I really am, and that's more than I gave her before. Daniel was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was steady. The voice of a man choosing something painful because the alternative was worse. Handle Tori, Daniel said. I have records, financial records. She's been skimming from the company for months, personal expenses on corporate accounts. A pattern of unauthorized transfers. I didn't want to use it. I didn't want it to come to this. But if she wants to play hardball, Daniel, don't. What? Protect yourself. Protect her. She's my cousin. She's family. Even when she's wrong, she's family. Destroy her, Daniel. Just stop her. Another long silence. Then, you're a better man than I am. No. I'm just a man who's tired of watching the people I care about tear each other apart. That night, Darius went to Amara's apartment. It was small, warm. The smell of garlic and onions lingered from dinner. Zara was asleep in her room, the purple crayon collection arranged on her nightstand like a tiny army of loyal soldiers. Amara opened the door. She was wearing an old t-shirt and paint-stained jeans. Her hair was wrapped. Her face was bare. She looked like every beautiful, tired, unbreakable thing Darius had ever seen. I need to talk to you, he said. About everything. And I need you to let me finish before you respond. She studied him. Then she stepped aside. He walked in. She closed the door. They sat on her small couch, the one with the faded floral pattern and the cushion that sank on the left side. Darius sat on the edge, his hands clasped between his knees. My name is Darius Kingsley, he said. I grew up in Jackson. My grandmother Edna raised me after my mother died. I built a company that makes medical technology affordable for people who can't afford it. I'm worth $14 billion. And I came back to Jackson because I was lonely and scared and desperate to know if anyone could love me without knowing any of that. Amara listened. She didn't interrupt. I created the Derek Miles identity because I wanted to start over. I wanted to be nobody. I wanted to earn something instead of buying it. I met you, he paused, and everything I thought I knew about my life got turned upside down. The surgery, Amara said. Her voice was calm, measured. You paid for it. I did, through your foundation. Yes, how much? $200,000. You couldn't tell me. I was afraid that if you knew who I was, what I was, you wouldn't let me near you. That you'd think I was just another rich man throwing money at a problem to feel good about himself. Wasn't that what you were doing? No. His voice was raw. What I was doing was watching a woman I was falling in love with suffer every single day, and I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand watching you sell your paintings. I couldn't stand watching you work double shifts. I couldn't stand watching you pray in that hospital hallway like your whole world depended on it. And I had the power to stop it. One phone call. That's all it would have taken. So why didn't you just call? Because if I called as Darius Kingsley, it wouldn't have been a gift. It would have been a transaction, and I didn't want you to owe me anything. I wanted you to know me, the real me, not the CEO, not the billionaire, just the man who sat on your couch and watched your daughter fall asleep on his shoulder and felt, for the first time in 10 years, like he was home. Amara was quiet. The clock on the wall ticked. Outside, a car passed. Music played from a distant apartment, the ordinary sounds of a life that had never needed billion-dollar anything to matter. Did you ever think about just telling me, she asked, every single day? Then why didn't you? Because I was a coward. He looked at her. And because every time I got close to the truth, Zara would do something, say something, and I'd think, if I tell them now this goes away, all of it, the crayons, the laughter, the way she calls me Mr. D, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't be the one to destroy that. Amara's jaw tightened. Her eyes were bright. She wasn't crying, not yet. She was holding it together with the same iron she held everything together with. You didn't destroy it, Darius. The lie destroyed it. You just carried the lie. I know. Now I'm standing here. No fake name, no hoodie, no mask, just me. And whatever you decide, whether you want me in your life or not, I need you to know that every moment I spent with you and Zara was the realest thing I've felt in years. The water bottles, the cushion, the purple bow, all of that was real. All of that was me. Amara stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the street. When I was 15, she said, my mama died, breast cancer. We didn't have insurance. She went to the free clinic too late. By the time they caught it, it had already spread. She turned to face him. After she died, I made a promise to myself. I said, Amara, nobody is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. And I lived by that every single day. For 11 years, I saved myself. I saved Marcus. I saved Zara. I didn't need anyone. I know. But you know what? Her voice wavered. I was so tired, Darius. I was so tired of saving myself. And when you showed up, when you were just there, fixing things, being quiet, not asking for anything, I thought maybe this time someone's going to stay. Maybe this time I don't have to do it all alone. Don't. I do if I can't trust you. The words landed like stones in still water. Darius felt them sink through him, heavy, final, true. I understand, he said. He stood up. I'll go down. He stopped. I didn't say leave, Amara said. I said I can't trust you. That's not the same thing. That means you have work to do, real work, not money work, not fix it with a check work. The kind of work that takes time, the kind of work where you show up every day and let me decide who you are, not who you tell me you are, who you show me you are. Darius sat back down. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. So you're giving me a chance, he asked. I'm giving you a lane. Don't confuse it with a highway. He almost laughed, almost, because that was so perfectly, distinctly Amara, fierce, guarded, generous in ways she'd never admit. Take the lane, he said. Good, she paused. Now, the cooking oil is burning on the stove and I need you to stir the pot before we eat burnt garlic for dinner. Can you handle that? Yes, ma'am. Don't ma'am me, I'm 26, not 60. Yes, ma'am. She threw a dish towel at him. He caught it. Their eyes met. And for one moment, one single crystalline moment, the distance between Billionaire and Nurse, between New York and Jackson, between a lie and the truth, collapsed into nothing. She almost smiled. He smiled first. The next 72 hours were a masterclass in awkward. Darius moved out of the community center and into a small room at the Holiday Inn on County Line Road. He bought his own groceries. He paid rent. He applied for a part-time position at the Kingsley Community Center, an actual position with actual responsibilities under Pastor Raymond's supervision. Paying you minimum wage, Raymond told him, and you're mopping on Tuesdays. I have a net worth of $14 billion, Pastor. I have a mop that needs pushing. Life's funny that way. Tori made her move on the third day. She called a press conference in New York, streamed live. 14 million viewers, announcing that Darius Kingsley had abandoned his company and misused foundation funds for personal reasons. She presented the financial records, the shell company, the grant, all of it. The stock dropped 11% in an hour. Then Daniel walked onto the stage. He hadn't been invited. He simply appeared, took the microphone from Tori's hand and turned to face the cameras. Since my colleague has chosen to present a partial narrative, Daniel said, his voice steady as steel, allow me to provide the full one. He laid it all out. Not just Torai's allegations, but her financial records, the unauthorized transfers, the personal expenses charged to corporate accounts, the pattern of embezzlement that Daniel had documented for months but never used. Victoria Kingsley has extracted $1.7 million from Kingsley Medical Technologies over the past 18 months, Daniel said, clicking to a slide that showed bank statements. Consulting fees for work never performed, travel expenses for trips that had no business purpose, and a salary supplement that was never approved by the board. Room erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Camera flashes exploded like lightning. Torai stood at the podium. Her face was white. Her hands were shaking. She looked at Daniel, the man who had loved her, the man who had given her everything, and for the first time she saw what she'd done. She saw the cost. Daniel looked back at her. His face was calm. His eyes were not. "I'm sorry, Torai," he said. "I tried to do this quietly. I tried to protect you, but you left me no choice." Feed cut to commercial. The damage was done. Within an hour, the board convened an emergency session. Torai was placed on administrative leave pending a full audit. Her access to company accounts was frozen. Her security badge was deactivated. She sat in her apartment that night, alone, surrounded by the architecture of a life built on someone else's foundation. And she realized with a clarity that felt like drowning that she had spent so long fighting to matter that she had forgotten how to simply be. Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Never wanted this to happen. You know that." She stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back, "I know, that's what makes it worse." She deleted every app on her phone, turned off the lights, sat in the dark. She'd rebuild. She always did. But this time she'd build something that was hers. 3 months passed. Jackson, Mississippi, welcomed the new year with cold rain and warm kitchens. The Kingsley Community Center put up new curtains. Amara sewed them from fabric she found on sale at the local market. Darius painted the front door a deep, rich brown. Pastor Raymond watched both of them work and smiled behind his coffee mug. Darius stayed, not as Derek Miles, not as Darius Kingsley, Billionaire CEO, as himself. The man who mopped on Tuesdays and helped kids with homework and drove Amara to work when her car broke down. He didn't try to buy his way back into her good graces. He just showed up, every single day. Rain or shine, he finished Amara's painting. He didn't tell her. He found the canvas in her apartment, the one with the bird with the broken wing set against the wide open sky. She'd been working on it for years and could never figure out how to end it. Darius studied it for a long time. Then he picked up her brushes and painted something small but unmistakable. Feathers, not broken feathers. New ones, growing in where the wing had been damaged, small, tender, but unmistakably there. The bird wasn't healed. It was healing, and it was flying anyway. He left the painting at the community center, propped against the wall in the main room. Amara found it on a Tuesday. She stood in front of it for 20 minutes without speaking. Zara tugged her hand. "Mama, why are you crying?" "Not crying, baby. Mama's just thinking." "About what?" "About how some things need time." Pastor Raymond was the one who finally spoke the truth out loud. It was a Sunday evening. The community center was empty except for Darius, Amara, Zara, and Raymond. The old man was sweeping. He always swept when he had something to say, because the rhythm helped his thoughts land in the right order. "You know," Raymond said, sweeping dust into a neat pile, "your grandmother used to tell me something, Darius. She said, 'Raymond, love ain't a destination, it's a direction. You don't arrive at love. You walk toward it. Some days you walk fast. Some days you crawl. But as long as you keep facing the right way, you'll get there.'" Darius looked at Amara. She was across the room helping Zara put on her coat. She'd heard the words. He knew she had because her hands paused just for a second on the zipper. "I keep facing the right way," Darius said quietly. Not to Raymond, to Amara. She looked up. Their eyes met across the room, and something in her gaze shifted, not dramatically, not like a door flinging open, like a curtain parting, slowly, just enough to let the light through. "I know you do," she said. Zara, oblivious to the magnitude of the moment, tugged her mother's hand. "Mama, can Mr. D come for dinner tonight? He likes your mac and cheese." Amara looked at her daughter, then at Darius, then at Pastor Raymond, who was suddenly very interested in a pile of dust. "Zara," Amara said slowly, "what do you think about inviting Mr. D to dinner?" "I think he should come every night." Amara shook her head, but she was smiling, really smiling. The kind of smile that starts small and fills your whole face before you can stop it. "Derek Darius," she said. "Come for dinner." "Yes, ma'am." "Don't ma'am me," he grinned. And for the first time in months, maybe years, the grin reached his eyes. That night after Zara had fallen asleep on the couch with crayons still on her fingers, Darius and Amara sat on the porch of her apartment building. Jackson was quiet. Stars filled the sky like someone had scattered diamonds across black velvet. A dog barked in the distance. A train hummed somewhere far away. "I'm not going to pretend this is simple," Amara said. "It's not. I still don't fully trust you. I know. I might never fully trust you again. I understand." But she paused, took a breath. "But Zara loves you, and Marcus says you're the best thing that happened to this family since she was born, and Raymond trusts you, and I—" Her voice caught. She swallowed. "I see you, Darius, not the money, not the magazine, you. The man who cries at the end of movies and pretends he didn't. The man who remembers that I hold my back when I'm tired. The man who finished my painting without telling me. You saw that?" "I saw it. The feathers." She looked at him. "You gave her new feathers." "I gave you new feathers. You were the bird all along, Amara. You just couldn't see the growth because you were too busy looking at the break." Amara stared at him. Her eyes were bright, wet, but not from sadness. From something she hadn't felt in so long she'd almost forgotten its name, hope. "Need you to promise me something," she said. "Anything. More secrets. No more lies, no more hiding behind fake names and pretty words. If you're scared, tell me you're scared. If you're confused, tell me you're confused. If you're happy, show me. I don't need perfect, Darius. I need real. Can do that. You, because real is hard. Real means fights. Real means bad days. Real means Zara throwing mac and cheese at the wall during a tantrum and you still staying for dinner." "Amara, I would eat mac and cheese off that wall if it meant I could stay for dinner," she laughed. A real laugh. Full and warm and unexpected. And Darius Kingsley, Billionaire CEO, founder of Kingsley Medical Technologies, one of the most powerful men in the country, decided that this small laugh on this small porch under these enormous stars was the richest he had ever been. Zara appeared at the door, hair wild, eyes half closed, purple crayon still clenched in her fist. "Mr. D," she mumbled. "Yeah, Zara, are you staying?" He looked at Amara. She looked at him. The stars waited. "Yeah, Zara," Darius said. "I'm staying." Zara smiled sleepily. "Good, bad people leave. Good people stay." She turned and padded back inside, trailing purple crayon marks across the hallway like a trail of tiny wildflowers. Amara watched her go. Then she looked at Darius. A tear slid down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. "She's right," Amara said quietly. "Good people stay. I'm not going anywhere." "Then stay." Darius Kingsley reached over and took Amara Johnson's hand. She let him, not because the walls were gone. They weren't. Walls take years to come down, but because the door, the one she'd kept locked for so long she'd forgotten the key existed, was finally, cautiously, beautifully open. And on the porch of a small apartment in Jackson, Mississippi, under a sky full of stars, two people who had nothing in common except the courage to keep showing up sat in the kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled, because it was already full. 1 year later, the Kingsley Community Center held its annual holiday gala. Pastor Raymond cut the ribbon on a newly renovated wing, funded by Darius's personal foundation, designed by Amara, and painted by Zara, who had contributed an entire wall of purple crayon art that Raymond refused to replace. Marcus Johnson walked into the gala on his own 2 feet. He'd been recovered for 6 months. He was working at the Magnolia Free Clinic now, following in his sister's footsteps. He gave a short speech. He thanked the people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. He looked at Amara and Darius and smiled the kind of smile that only comes from being given a second chance. The painting, the finished one, the bird with the broken wing and the new feathers flying into a sky full of light, hung in the main room of the community center. Beneath it, a small plaque read, for Amara, who never stopped flying. D.K. Darius and Amara weren't married. Not yet. They were taking their time. Building something real. Something that couldn't be rushed or bought or performed. They fought about dishes and money and whose turn it was to pick up Zara from school. They made up over mac and cheese and bad movies and long walks through Jackson in the rain. Zara had added a third figure to her drawings, a tall man with a big smile, holding the hands of a little girl and a woman. She called it My Family. She didn't need a crayon to make it true. Here's the lesson I want you to carry with you from this story. You cannot build real love on a foundation of lies. You cannot buy trust. You cannot perform your way into someone's heart. And you cannot shortcut your way to connection by hiding behind money, status, or a fake name. But you can start again. You can start by showing up, by being honest, even when honesty costs you something, by sitting in the uncomfortable silence and letting the truth do its work, by staying when everything in you wants to run. Darius Kingsley had $14 billion and nothing. Amara Johnson had nothing and everything. And in the end, it was never about what either of them had or didn't have. It was about what they were willing to give. Real love isn't found in grand gestures or dramatic rescues. It's found in the quiet, stubborn decision to show up as yourself, all of yourself, the scared parts, the broken parts, the parts you think nobody could ever accept, and trusting that the right person will see those parts and stay anyway. So if you're watching this and you're hiding behind a persona, behind a title, behind the walls you built to protect yourself, take them down. Brick by brick, day by day, let someone in. Not everyone, just the right one. And when they come, and they will come, don't perform, don't pretend, just be. Because the right person won't love the mask, they'll love the face underneath. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below, tell me your favorite moment, tell me what hit different, tell me who your Zara is. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell because more stories are coming. Stories about love, strength, sacrifice, and the kind of people who refuse to quit. Until next time, take care of each other, show up, be real, and remember, good people stay. For watching.